last night, Jonathan Karl from ABC News offered you information that I've been telling y'all, but y'all don't listen to me, that I've been telling you all for weeks now, which is that the leaders in Congress, both chambers, I'm talking about Hakeem Jeffries, I'm talking about Chuck Schumer, I'm also talking about the Speaker of the House Emerita, Nancy Pelosi, they all want Biden gone. I don't care what nobody tell you. Here's Jonathan Karl telling you for himself. Check it out and listen to what he said.
One person who has been out there publicly defending Biden told me just a short while ago, Biden is going to see the whole house of cards come down soon. As for that meeting in Rehoboth, Delaware, I am told that this was a one-on-one meeting, just the Senate leader and the president, and that Chuck Schumer forcefully made the case that it would be better for Biden, better for the Democratic Party, and better for the country if he were to bow out of the race. And David, when I went to Schumer's office to ask them to tell them I was going to report this and tell you this tonight, absolutely no denial from Senator Schumer's office.
Conveyed the views
directly to the president.
Conveyed the views of his constituents. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you a couple of things. First of all, the fact that Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, two of the most savvy politicians in the world, were very careful to say this stuff behind the scenes. But when it leaked, they were also equally willing to say, you know what? We said it. We just speaking for the people. They didn't deny it. Politicians deny their statements all the time. Politicians pretend that they didn't say what they said and what everybody knows they said. They throw the rocks, they hide their hands. But this is strategic. This is strategic. They wanted to leak. I told you all a week and a half ago when Nancy Pelosi said, I support Biden, but it's up to him to decide when he wants to end this campaign or whether or not he wants to continue this campaign. That was a strategy. Biden had already said, I ain't going nowhere. Biden had already said, I'm not going anywhere. And yet, despite the fact that he said that he wasn't going anywhere, Nancy Pelosi still raised it as a possibility that he might be going somewhere. Why would Nancy Pelosi do that? Nancy Pelosi does that so that the conversation continues. So then, when you get Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, they're stepping in and they're saying the same thing. Why are they saying the same thing? Well, their seats are safe. They're not saying it because they feel threatened. But what they also see is a very clear trend. And that trend says that when Trump wins the presidency, he sweeps in a whole lot of Democrats. And when Biden wins the presidency, he sweeps in a whole lot of Democrats. So the concern here is not an individual politician. The concern here is if Biden stays in the race, he's going to lose. He's going to lose. But not only might he lose, but he might also cost them the balance of power in the House, the balance of power in the Senate. The last thing you need is Donald Trump for 4 years having a sweep, having a supermajority, controlling all the chambers of Congress, and maybe having a supermajority in the Senate. Filibuster-proof majority. If that happens against the backdrop of Project 2025, against the backdrop of the MAGA movement, oh Lord, we will have legislation in place. We will have policies that are already in place being exacerbated. We will have Supreme Court and federal court appointees, and circuit court appointees. We will have a political reality that could easily take decades, if not a century, to undo. So when you hear senator after senator start to come forward and say, wait a minute, this ain't what we wanted. When you hear Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer come forward and say, we need you to reconsider this, please understand that they're speaking for everybody. They're speaking for everybody. So the noise is not going to get less loud. The noise is not going to get less intense. And it's going to go from a, well, we should think about it, to we need you to do this. And let me be clear. It is not just the congressmen and women. Barack Hussein Obama, President Obama, is also behind this. President Obama has very clearly, through his handlers, made it clear that President Obama does not support Joe Biden going up for re-election. Now, let me be clear. President Obama has said that it should be Biden's choice, but he doesn't think that he can win. That's what my sources tell me. All this past weekend, I've spoken to people who consistently have said Obama is moving these chess pieces around in the back of the room, and the leaks that are coming out are things like Obama, Biden needs to reconsider his viability. The New York Times reported that today, that he just wants Biden to consider whether he can win. Well, I'm telling you, in real life, according to my sources in DC, according to my sources in who are 1 degree separation from Obama as well, or 2 degrees separation, depending on the source, they're saying something even more intense. They're saying that President Obama doesn't want Joe Biden to go up for re-election. He doesn't think he can win. He thinks it's bad for the party, and he thinks it's absolutely, absolutely bad for Joe Biden's legacy. And so when you have people saying that, powerful voices, people like Jamie Raskin in Maryland, who says, look, there's nothing wrong with exiting the game with a standing ovation in the stadium, using the baseball metaphor. They're all saying the same thing. They're saying, Mr. Biden, don't let this be an ego run. If you stay in office, fine. It's only till November. And then there's an election, and then you'll be lamed up between November and January, fine. But if you stay in the race, you're not just going to ensure that Trump wins. You're going to create the conditions for decades of crisis. And that's something that we can't live with.